Corruption is a creeping evil that Europe is failing to rid itself of. Worse still, Transparency International's 2023 Corruption Perceptions Index reveals a worrying decline in anti-corruption measures in Western Europe and the EU. It also shows that the bloc's average score has fallen from 66 to 65 on a scale of 100, where 0 is highly corrupt. This is the first such drop in 10 years, pointing to a weakening of checks and balances, undermining efforts to fight corruption. According to the CPI, the EU's most highly ranked democracies, such as Sweden and the Netherlands, scored their lowest, while Poland and Hungary appear to face significant challenges due to weak judicial systems. Anti-corruption efforts have stagnated or declined in more than three-quarters of the countries surveyed across Europe. The institutions of the European Union have not been spared. Members of the European Parliament have also been accused of corruption. These high-profile scandals have highlighted the need to step up the fight against corruption. Back in April, Transparency International called for better procedures and laws to target corrupt acts and questioned whether the EU could act decisively and raise anti-corruption standards. In response to these challenges, Europe has decided to strengthen its anti-corruption legislation. A new law, for the first time, will unify all rules on corruption in the public and private sectors in all EU member states and set minimum standards for the definition and punishment of corruption offences. In mid-June, member states in the Council of the EU adopted a strong position on this new legislation, which will allow them to negotiate with the European Parliament to determine the final law. All EU countries accepted to criminalize and define the same acts of corruption in the same way. Punishable offences will include bribery, misappropriation, trading in influence, obstruction of justice, and enrichment through corruption. In addition to agreeing on a common definition of corruption, the Council also agreed on the penalties to be imposed for corruption offences. Criminal penalties include imprisonment of between 2 and 4 years and additional sanctions such as fines, dismissal from public office, and disqualification from holding public office. Companies face fines of between 3 and 5% of their global turnover, or between 24 million to 40 million euros. Member states will also have to step up their efforts to raise public awareness, ensure transparency, and set up independent bodies to prevent and punish corruption. As the Council and the European Parliament enter negotiations to finalize this directive, it is important for them to address any potential loopholes. It goes without saying, however, that the effectiveness of this legislation will also depend to a large extent on the commitment of member states to implement and enforce the measures adopted in a consistent manner.